Nowadays, Ukrainian Muslims are spoken about in Ukraine and beyond. But before the Soviet Union collapse, people were scared even to mention the word Islam. They were afraid of persecution by the authorities. Such persecution experienced the family of Fahima Ahadova. Her grandfather and later her father were imams in Bashkortostan. That was the reason why her father was expelled and imprisoned for 3 years without any explanation. But no persecution, no army or war could break his faith.
He never abandoned religion. When he retired, he thoroughly started to deal with religious matters, particularly in Kiev. During the Soviet Union times, it was very difficult to practice Islam. Why? Because it was simply forbidden to perform prayers. When Kurban Bayram or Ramadan came, Muslims gathered together. My dad told them about it. Everybody gathered in the cemetery, and there Muslims performed festive prayer, then they made dua.
Muslims experienced similar situations in other countries and cities. They did their best to protect and save the religion of all the prophets, monotheism. They kept on practicing religion, but they had to do it secretly.
Here in Kharkov we could perform only festive prayers, and only at somebody's house, as the mosque was closed. We gathered at rented places, libraries, halls, only at fests. We didn't gather on ordinary days. We gathered rarely, very rarely. Very few people came. Everybody was afraid. Those who were not afraid of repressions invited Muslims to their houses. They gathered, spoke on religious matters. It was possible to gather for the festive prayers only twice a year.
I came to study at Technological Institute in Kiev. It was very difficult to practice my religion then. I kept it as a secret. Nobody spoke about it, particularly when there was clash with such concepts as historical materialism, dialectical materialism, scientific communism.
No doubt, the Soviet system politics, which tried to destroy Islamic values, left its footprint, but only external one. It was impossible to ruin faith, which was in the hearts of the Muslims. Oppression left with the collapse of the Soviet Union system. Finally, Muslims had the opportunity to practice Islam openly, but very few could remember how to do it properly.
We were brought to Kiev in 1944 to work for the military plant, as Kiev needed more working people. When we had free time, we brought bricks to Khreshchatyk Street, cleaned the other streets. There was no time to learn the basics of religion. Although my ancestors were Muslims, and I thought of myself as a Muslim, I knew the Islamic testimony in Arabic. I didn't understand its meaning.
Because of the Soviet and post-Soviet time, we didn't have the opportunity to gain Islamic knowledge. Moreover, we traveled to different cities of the former Soviet Union, and we couldn't find this knowledge anywhere. There was no one to teach us. When we came here, there was no mosque, no imam. One woman died in Odessa. There was no imam among us. People brought her to us and asked who would bury her. And that was the moment I realized we needed the leader, the one with Islamic knowledge.
At that time, there was no one in Ukraine who could become the leader of religious administration. No one, but people waited for this person to come. People waited.
My student life became the reason I started to deal with religious matters more seriously. According to my teacher recommendation, I entered the Lebanon University at Islamic department to gain higher education. There was no plan. As a result, it helped to gather all the Muslims in Ukraine.
Sheikh Ahmed saw that people were in darkness. There was no knowledge of religion. So the main task was to take those people out of darkness.
Every time I think about it, I want to cry.
The first festive prayer was performed at the cemetery entrance. The first religious lessons were conducted in the rented libraries, stadiums and offices.
When I first came to Kiev, there was one Chechenian with me. He said we needed to find a place where to perform the Jumu'ah prayer. I could not even think there was such a place in Kiev, but he was right. We searched for it for a long time, and eventually we found it at Podol. The Muslims rented a place in a basement of one building, and their leader was Sheikh Ahmed Tamim. There were around 20 people. That was my first Friday prayer in Kiev following Sheikh Ahmed as Imam. It was so beautiful. I looked at my friend, he was crying. Nobody prayed at that time. That what Sheikh Ahmed and Hajj Abdul Rahim did was amazing. Muslims in Ukraine finally could practice Islam. They had someone to teach them how to do it properly and correctly.
When I came there, I felt as if I were in some other world. Firstly, I learned about my God, His attributes, laws, orders. I also learned the meanings of Islamic testimonies. My education in a state school lasted for 2 years. I could write a bit in Arabic. After attending Sheikh Ahmed's lessons, I started to recite the Surah Yasin. Every Sunday we had a religious lesson on different topics. I went there with delight. I was waiting for that day as for the fest. I was happy that finally we could gather together openly.
Old people were happy to go there. They recalled from childhood memories how their grandparents practiced Islam. But everything was just forgotten. We had to start from the very beginning. It didn't matter how many people came to the lessons. 1 person or 50 people, Sheikh Ahmed kept teaching us.
That was the way our Muslim community developed. We gave out food and clothes for charity, magazines, leaflets. Sometimes people even invited us to some regions, as they didn't know how to bury according to Islamic law. Sometimes it even appeared they knew it but completely forgot.
There were Aksakals, people who particularly supported Sheikh Ahmed Tamim. They said he was on the true path and urged people to follow him. There were no disputes between them on religious matters. Haji Aminovich, Fiaz Abi, Iskandar Abi, those who were Aksakals, who among the first ordered Sheikh Ahmed to be their leader. Later, on the first Congress, they offered him to become head of the religious administration of Muslims in Ukraine.
Within some period of time, Muslims register their official body, the main task of which is to unite all Muslims living on the territory of Ukraine and to teach them the true knowledge of Islam.
I saw so many representatives of different regions of Ukraine. How grandly and powerful our community looked. I am so grateful that merciful and almighty God has granted us this strength, development and unity. There were Kazakhs, Ukrainians, Poles, Tatars, Azerbaijanis. There were quite many people among Dagestani nationalities. Everyone could find his place there. Islam is not the skin color, some country or language. It is submission to the one and only God. Here people don't feel as if they are at guests. Everyone here feels as if he is at home. Islam teaches that we are all brothers in faith.
Geography of the religious administration is expanding. Among the first who join it are Muslims of Kharkiv, Donetsk, Mykolaiv, Poltava, Lviv, Odessa and Kherson.
People came even from the Crimea to learn from Sheikh Ahmad's experience and to attend his lessons, to learn the basics of Islam and Islamic manners. We became the foundation for all Muslims in Ukraine. Their mission was not to dominate us. We realized that from their words and actions, they asked to send them our imams in order to teach them, to raise their educational level and eventually to spread this knowledge. Well, this is what actually happened. Everyone who teaches here Islamic knowledge are those who lived here for years. It was necessary for Muslims in Ukraine to show good culture, beautiful Islamic manners, as we lived in a foreign country. To have good Islamic education was of high importance as well.
In 1994, after 3 years of discussions and agreement, the Muslims laid the foundation stone for the mosque, the construction of which would be completed only 20 years later.
It will become a true symbol of the society unification.
That was the time when Muslim communities in different regions of Ukraine started to work actively. Due to the unity of nationalities, new prayer rooms and mosques appeared.
People came to help with everything, to clean the territory, rebuild constructions, so they could become prayer rooms. Everybody worked actively. The culture of those who started to attend the mosque became better. Before the mosque was built here, people had to stay at home or to go in some uncertain direction. Now, when we have some free time, we bring here our families. We could prepare only one room per year. We fixed ceiling, repaired the floor, brought more soil. The second year we prepared the second room, the third year the third room. Finally, 500 people could come and stay there to study. Everyone who came here tries his best to help financially, little by little, and it helped to develop the community. We have very good results. Some decades ago there was no single mullah even for the whole region. Now there are Muslim teachers in every village who teach our children. There was the time when less than 5 people came, and we couldn't perform Friday Jumu'ah prayer. When 5 or 6 people came, we were very happy and grateful that we could perform Jumu'ah prayer. Bit by bit, the community enlarged and developed. Now we don't worry if enough people come. Our worries have changed. Will there be enough space for everyone? Sometimes at Jumu'ah prayer there are more Muslims who converted to Islam than those who are born Muslims.
Young people who convert to Islam amazingly change their culture, their lifestyle. This is the way our society becomes healthier.
Thanks God, our community now is developed. It is comprised of more than 3,000 people. Everything started from this room. First Muslims performed only festive prayers here, then Friday prayers as well. I had worked for 25 years at the plant and had the opportunity to receive the flat, but some people did not let it happen. I didn't worry about that. It appeared that my room, this very room, is like a mosque. The first mosque in Kharkiv is my room. This is what I am proud of. Of course, there were some conflicts due to the multinational community. The reasons were simple living matters. But since people started to gain Islamic obligatory knowledge, everything has changed. Many people perform obligatory prayers with their families. They tasted the sweetness of religious knowledge. Since I started to attend the mosque, I have greatly changed. I regularly attend religious lessons, I learned to recite the Surah Yasin. I think it is a huge breakthrough. Some decades ago, it could be a problem for Muslims to find a place to pray and to receive religious education. It is not a problem anymore. Now we have our own Muslim cemetery, where one can have all the necessary documents and to bury their Muslims, who were buried in non-Muslim cemeteries before. Much of important work has been done. It is very good, especially for the Chechenian diaspora.
The achievements are very, very great.
From the very first days of its functioning, the religious administration becomes a true face of all Muslims in Ukraine. The association works hard to provide all Muslims with obligatory Islamic knowledge and other religious needs. Representatives of different sects worked and keep on working secretly to implement their own dangerous ideologies as if they are Islamic ones.
I understood why it happens. They have their own political goals and movements. In case such ideology enters the society, it will lead to destruction, the destruction of the society itself, particularly if people think it is led by Islam.
People were surprised and kept on saying that there was no necessity to speak about it in Ukraine. It happens there, over the ocean. But the Mufti kept on warning people against it, and little by little people started to open their eyes and see the true picture. It is very important, as by this it was possible to protect Muslims in Ukraine and abroad from a negative impact of sectarians. Islam is not related to such terms as terrorism and extremes, as in reality this is what Islam actually refutes and fights against. It doesn't support it in any way. We are Muslims. We have always been for peace. It is so important to explain to people what Islam really is and to warn them against extremes and sectarians.
In order to protect Ukrainian society from that, which other countries have suffered from, the religious administration of Muslims is conducting an open work to combat extremist organizations. The administration publishes literature which explains the differences between extremes and Islamic dogmas. Representatives of the administration take part in international conferences and congresses, urging everyone to take these issues seriously.
The greatest help which the religious administration provides the Muslim is continuous teaching of true knowledge of our religion. These thousands lessons in our Islamic magazines and books do not contradict each other. It provides that it is true knowledge and a human does not create it.
To preserve and convey true knowledge to new generations, the religious administration of Muslims in Ukraine forms a system of Islamic education. Thus, the Islamic University starts functioning in Kiev, the graduates of which are hundreds of Muslims from around the world. A high level of education is recognized both in Ukraine and abroad. Next step is construction of the Islamic educational complex.
We paid special attention to one faculty, basis of Shariat and legal system in Islam. Apart from the daytime education, we started a distance learning using individual approach to every student, so they could study after lunchtime or in the evening. We also provided the working places.
First Muslim schools and preschools are opening in the country, together with work of the religious administration of Muslims in Ukraine.
Children will have the true knowledge of Islam starting from young age. They learn about their obligations, 5 pillars of Islam, what is obligatory in our religion and what is recommended.
Simultaneously with work of the state education system under the leadership of the administration, the centers of religious education begin to operate. In Ukraine, Islamic weekend schools appear, as well as the first school of Hafiz, where children learn to recite and memorize the Quran. And this is more than 600 pages of the Holy Book in Arabic, which has remained unchanged since its revelation to the Prophet Muhammad. Hafiz participate in the Quran recitation competition, where they represent Ukraine at the international level.
Nobody says that our children should become sheikhs or imams only. Maybe one of them tomorrow will become a very good shepherd, an engineer, an architect or a doctor. Whichever profession they will choose, we know they will be good people, as they will not drink alcohol or waste their money. They will have a good and healthy lifestyle to become the bride for their parents.
From the moment of its foundation, the religious administration pays much attention to the proper education of the youth. Due to the initiative of the religious administration, the International Summer Camp appears, where children have the opportunity to have good rest and to learn the true knowledge of Islam. Muslims are developing in the creative direction as well. Children participate in diverse song festivals in Ukraine and represent the country at the international level.
The benefit is great for both, for those who sing and for those who listen. It is amazing that while listening to the song, you still can gain Islamic knowledge. As there it is said about God, His attributes and Prophet Muhammad. It helped Muslims to become more pious.
When children come to a rehearsal, besides singing, they learn about Islam. It is one of wonderful ways to attract children to learning the religion.
For 25 years of fruitful work, the administration has organized a number of large-scale projects, among which is the construction of the first mosque in history of the independent Ukrainian state. Today, the Mosque Ar-Rahma is a symbol of Islam in Ukraine, as well as a visiting card of the state in the Islamic world. The mosque is visited by parishioners, tourists, as well as officials from Ukraine and representatives of other countries. One of the key projects of religious administration is Aya Group, the first publishing house of true Islamic literature in the independent Ukraine. It works on release of the magazine for children Svetlachok, as well as the official edition of the religious administration, the newspaper Minaret.
Several decades ago, to practice and teach our religion on the territory of Ukraine was literally banned. After this ban was lifted, a great necessity in religious literature in Slavonic languages appeared. Unfortunately, this niche was hastily filled with books which do not have proper qualification in religious matters. Worse than that is the fact that sectarians and extremists quickly used this situation. Therefore, it became very important for the religious administration in Ukraine to provide both Muslims and non-Muslims with true literature about Islam, the way the Prophet Muhammad and Muslim scholars taught people religion for centuries. We invite philologists, both of Arabic and Russian languages, for translation of our religious books, as well as specialists in the field of religion.
One of the greatest achievements is the foundation of the Creative Association Islamic Media Ukraine, which works for production and promotion of multimedia products.
One of our achievements are Islamic Radio M+, Radio Quran 24, Nasheed Ukraine, a project of religious songs, as well as video production and educational internet portals. The main project we are diligently working now is the project called Muslim, the goal of which is to develop Islamic cartoons. Islamic Media Ukraine is the source of Islamic media products in Russian and Ukrainian languages. We can hear the reproduction of our radio lessons and songs recorded with the voices of other people in different countries of the world. Since the religious information is not perverted, we are happy about that. Our goal is not to make business, and we do not worry about rivalry. We work for common goal, spreading the truth, and we are delighted that our creative association has become a good reason for this.
Under the leadership of the religious administration, the certification center Halal starts to operate, which is recognized internationally for its high-quality work.
The Halal Certification Center work directly reflects the image of Ukraine in Muslim countries due to the high quality of halal products, compliance with the rules of purchase and sale, and the distribution of Ukrainian producers' products. This fact proves that there is development in Ukraine. The Halal Certification Center goal is to provide Ukrainian population with products that are permitted by the law of God and to provide good working places.
The religious administration of Muslims in Ukraine cooperates with public associations and diverse public authorities. It becomes a part of the Ukrainian Council of Churches and religious organizations, as well as various ministries and departments of Ukraine. Representatives of the administration participate in meetings, solving issues to preserve the unity of Ukrainian multinational and multicultural society.
We take part in the chaplain preparation courses and also support the Ukrainian armed forces, as well as those soldiers who are on the front line. We cooperate with various universities where we conduct lectures on religion. Teachers and students come to our mosque to find out more about the culture of Islam and traditions of Muslims. We visit different preschools, houses for elderly people. Those who in need also come to us. We are happy to provide them with any possible help we can. We do our best to work in different directions of good, and thanks God we have good results. There are quite many of us. It is especially can be seen during the month of Ramadan, as it is a very special month to us. We have different meetings, then after the sunset we eat all together. The atmosphere is very lively and friendly. People bring whole families.
The administration does its best to meet the religious needs of the believers. Due to its good work, hundreds of Muslims were able to perform one of the greatest rituals in Islam, pilgrimage to the holy Mecca. A good example of relationship with Muslims all over the world is the religious administration participation in many congresses, conferences and symposia. Meetings with religious and social leaders prove the positive role of the religious administration not only in Ukraine but throughout the world as well.
The religious administration of Muslims in Ukraine managed to do amazing work. One of the results is that the attitude to Muslims have changed for better. Nowadays, there are about 2 million Muslims in Ukraine. Islam is not a nation, it is a religion.
We were the first to warn people against extremes. We are against politicization of the religion. That is why our goal was and still is to unite multinational society in Ukraine.
Muslims here work with honesty, openness and sincerity. Wherever the religious administration of Muslims in Ukraine is, there you can find order, development and flourishing. The direction of the religious administration is firmly towards good only. We are making thoughtful and right decisions. People trust the religious administration, as 25 years are enough to see the real face of any organization.
Our path is interesting. If we recall instructive stories from the times of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, we will see that it is not easy to fight for justice, to preserve dignity, and to be independent from anyone who wants you to become interested more in this life's benefits. I am very happy to be among people who love clarity and are ready to work for good sincerely, as they see in such work their dignity. I am addressing every Muslim. You are not alone, and you are not weak. You are smart, and you can do many good things. You just need to find yourself. To find yourself, you need to study more and to gain more religious knowledge. Do properly what God ordered you to do and that which was approved by the Prophet. Then you will see how strong you are and what amazing results you can bring. I wish you whatever I wish to myself from good.